College game day coming to Yo City, College Station. This will be a blast, man. Texas A&M minus 2.5 against Notre Dame. 7:30 Eastern, ABC, Kyle Field. Y'all, that place will be on fire. For those of y'all that have watched this show for the better part of the last year and a half, you've heard me say this a few times. Like, I worked in College Station for a cup of coffee, doing local news there. That entire city, that entire community lives and dies with Texas A&M football. So Kyle Field will be packed out. The atmosphere will be nothing short of electric, especially because of what's going on in College Station now. Jimbo Fisher is out. Mike Elko is in. The Elko era starts here in this game. And we've said this many times for Texas A&M. This is not some like rebuild for A&M. Because sometimes we bring in a new coach and it's like, hey, we got to tear it down to the studs. We got to figure this thing out again and start from scratch. That's not A&M. How many times have you heard someone sit behind a microphone and say, yeah, A&M's really talented. Look at how they've recruited. That's the obvious part. It's not rebuild when it comes to a roster. It's a reboot when it comes to approach, when it comes to culture, when it comes to strategy, all those things. All the things that help you actually maximize the roster, maximize the input you've had there for the better part of the last few years. Winning a game like this against a team that a lot of folks are picking right now to make the college football playoff to start the season, you want to start the Elko era off with a bang? You get a big win at home with the eyes of the country upon you to do that. College football sickos, the time is now. Make sure you are subscribed right here to the On3 YouTube channel. Week 1 is here, baby. Whether you're a Texas A&M fan, whether you're a Notre Dame fan, want y'all dialed in for everything that we're doing right here on the On3 YouTube channel this season. This is college football the way that you want it discussed. I say it a lot. No hot takes, no clickbait, just ball and only ball the way that you want it discussed and talked about. So we appreciate y'all for being subscribed. For Notre Dame, like we said, a lot of folks picking them to be in the college football playoff. Yours truly, I have them in the college football playoff. But if you are who you believe you're going to be, you win this game. You win this game. Because as much as you talk about A&M and what they have on that roster, still a year 1 coach, new coordinators. Notre Dame, you're going into year 3 of the Marcus Freeman era. You got a new quarterback, but you got him through the portal, and you got him as a guy who the NFL draft absolutely loves in Riley Leonard. You brought in a new coordinator yourself, but like you got the coordinator who is not, 1, unfamiliar with South Bend and how Notre Dame operates. 2, he led the most potent offense in college football last year at LSU. So the way that you look at this, like there's a lot there for Notre Dame to where really just on paper they should be ahead of where A&M is right now. Now, does that matter in this game? When it comes to our prediction, remains to be seen. Everyone has been talking this point to death, and I think it's valid, but I think we're looking at it the wrong way. Notre Dame will be without who would have been their starting tackle in Jagusaw. Nick Scorton transfers in from Purdue to Texas A&M to wreak havoc off the edge. He led the Big Ten in sacks last year. That's not by accident, especially when you're playing at a place like Purdue. You're getting a lot of attention. The bottom line here is that's a matchup you circle in red ink, highlight it. If you're a fan, you probably take whatever the props are on our Nick Scorton, right? I think Mike Denbrock understands that. I think he understands that's a spot where he has to give some extra attention for his offense. I'm not so much interested as to who wins that matchup between Nick Scorton and the Notre Dame young offensive line or that defensive line for A&M and the Notre Dame offensive line. That's going to factor into some respect. Obviously, my question is, how does Mike Denbrock scheme around that? How does he find a way to make up for what just quite frankly should be a talent gap that favors Texas A&M? That's what I'm really curious about. Because when we watch Mike Denbrock's offenses, go back to what he did at LSU, he runs what I would call like the modern triple option. Not the same as an RPO. It is an RPO to some respects, but he's going to consistently get Riley Leonard the opportunity to give the football based on what the defensive end does. And in some cases, if they give him the look to pull the football, he will be on the perimeter with more than likely Mitchell Evans, the stud tight end for Notre Dame, as an option to throw the football to in the flat, or he'll have a chance to just knife up field, get yardage, and probably have a first down for Notre Dame. How does Texas A&M combat that? And when they do combat that, how successful are they at it? Because at the end of the day, too, Riley Leonard and his just physical attributes, he is, I believe, skilled enough. If he's able to be consistent throwing the football downfield, we know what he can do with his legs. Like he can give Notre Dame a more than puncher's chance in this game, even though they're 2.5-point dogs. You can give A&M fits schematically because you might have it drawn up correctly, but you still got to make a tackle in the open field against a really talented athlete in Riley Leonard. Like that's just something you're going to have to account for at some point in time. There's probably going to be a battle we see many a time, but who is it filling against Riley Leonard? Is it Torian York? Is it one of the safeties trying to roll down and make a tackle on Leonard? Like, I don't know what that looks like, but that battle to me will have a massive, massive impact on the game. Whether it's in the red zone, whether it's something that they just use a lot in second and short, third and short, and they pick up a big first down, like that is the spot to me to where if you're A&M, if you take that away, you force, I think, Notre Dame to play you in a lot more of an honest sense. And in that way, I think you feel better about what you have on the defensive front for Texas A&M. Because last year, they lost some guys now, don't get it twisted, but they are still, I believe, one of the most talented defensive fronts in the SEC, if not all of college football. Okay, so if you can make it a game where they have to play you in the box and you're not able to have so much success in the perimeter for Notre Dame, that's advantage A&M. That's a matchup we have to watch all game long. Now, we talked a lot about Riley Leonard. He's not the only quarterback in this game now. You got Conor Wegman, who is, you're hoping and praying, able to stay healthy for Texas A&M, a guy who's flashed multiple times for the Aggies when he has been healthy, 5-star cat in his own right. This will be the biggest spot in his college career. Now, the benefit for him is it's at home, but this will be the biggest game that he has ever played in as a college quarterback. So, yes, what you get from him is going to be a question we have to unpack together, but I'm looking at the A&M offense, and I'm like, okay, how much can you help him? More specifically, how much can you run the football to settle him into the game? Ruben Owens, done for the year. Your heart breaks for that guy. You definitely would have liked to have him in this game. Le'Veon Moss, going to be a massive, massive part of what they do getting downhill, running the football, as well as Daniels. So those two running backs, I think the 1-2 punch, if you're able to set him up for some 2nd and 5, 3rd and 2, just situations where Notre Dame can't just pin their ears back and get after the quarterback in the biggest spot of his life, that's advantage A&M. So I think the number to look at here, can A&M average yards per carry 3.5 to 4 yards? That's asking a lot because I really like the Notre Dame defense. We'll talk about them more in a second, but that's going to be huge. Because what that would do is, again, gives you some balance offensively, kind of puts the Notre Dame defense in a little more of a position where they probably have to play a lot more honest coverage on the back end. And then to go with that now, talking about supporting Conor Wegman, like if you're a receiver for A&M, go win, man. Go freaking win. Like if you're a guy that wants to increase your NFL draft stock, this is the game for you. Because you got Benjamin Morrison, who is right up there with Will Johnson, I believe, is one of the best cornerbacks in the whole freaking sport. You got Xavier Watts, who is up there, I believe, with Caleb Downs, is one of the best safeties in the sport. Like, you want to go make yourself some money in the NFL in a more instant sense. You want to give yourself a chance to win this football game, go win against those DBs. Because if you run the football and you get man coverage, Conor Wegman, I think, is going to give you a chance to go make some plays downfield. Has to happen in this game. Has to happen in this game. Have to find a way to separate and go win against a really good secondary. So in this game now, we talked about Trey Wilson for the Florida-Miami game and how explosive he is and how much they'll force-feed him the football in multiple ways. To me, a name that everyone is going to know after week 1 of the college football season is Notre Dame running back Jeremiah Love. They're going to throw it to him. They're going to get him the ball in space. And the reason why I feel that way is whenever you go back and watch the Mike Denbrock offenses, what do? Spread you out, yes. Have a pretty balanced attack overall for the most part, yes. Great yards per carry numbers, yes. More specifically, they maximize their playmakers. And this Notre Dame offense has a lot of them. Like I haven't even talked about Chris Mitchell and what he brings to the table. Speedy outside receiver for them that they got from the G5 level. Jaden Greathouse, also a receiver for them that's going into his sophomore year that I think will have a massive impact. But Jeremiah Love, I think, is just the Swiss Army knife to where I don't know who you feel good about matching up with him. If you get him out in space, like I don't know who's bringing him down. So I don't know if it'll be a thing where he gets like 20 plus carries, but I do think it's a thing where you get him somewhere in the range of 15 plus touches, whether that's, again, throwing the football to him or handing it off to him. I think the defense for Notre Dame is why I feel confident in them going into College Station, because we talk about like tough environments, talked about the Swamp. We'll talk more about some other places throughout the duration of this show. Notre Dame has a very adult defense. Like 7 of their 11 starters are not seniors, not juniors, grad students. What does that mean? It means they're very comfortable playing college football. Again, sounds simplistic, but it means that they are not going to be in a situation here when they go to Kyle Field and their heart rate shoots through the roof and they lose their bearings and they miss a bunch of assignments. Like, no, they're going to, I believe, have some acclimation, of course, in that first quarter playing in a raucous environment and playing college football again in a new season. But like for the most part now, they're going to be the steady hand. Jordan Botelho is a guy you've been waiting on for a while if you're a Notre Dame fan to really pop. He's like they call it the Viper, but he's essentially like a defensive end edge kind of player for Notre Dame. Watch him this game. I think he'll have a massive effort in getting pressure to Conor Wegman and helping them kind of try and push them into those third and passing situations that we tried to talk about A&M staying out of. That's massive. The experience and maturity of the Notre Dame defense, I think, ultimately will be the difference in this game. So I think it's back and forth. I think if you are a Texas A&M fan, you leave this game saying, okay, we're headed the right direction with Mike Elko. Okay, I see a real identity now offensively with Conor Wegman and Colin Klein calling the shots. Like, I see a new A&M. However, there's too much newness to me from the top down for A&M to be picked to win this game, even with it being at home. I'm going to take Notre Dame to win a close one in a dogfight in the opener for year 3 of the Marcus Freeman era. 27-24 Irish get it done. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.